At minus 40 degrees Celsius, a truck driver who shuts off his engine and climbs into his bunk without preparation will not sleep comfortably. He will not sleep at all. What keeps thousands of drivers sleeping soundly every winter night across Canada, Russia, Scandinavia, and the northern United States is not toughness. It is not habit. It is a system, built layer by layer before the temperature drops, that most people parked in a warm house have never had to think about. This is what that system actually looks like. The first thing most people get wrong is assuming the cab itself offers protection. It does not passively. The walls of a truck cab are thin metal and glass designed to reduce road noise and light wind, not to hold heat in conditions where exposed skin freezes in under 3 minutes. Without an active heat source, a parked cab at minus 40 loses interior temperature at roughly 1 degree per minute. Within 45 minutes of the engine shutting off, the inside of the cab is approaching outside temperature. That is not a discomfort problem. That is a survival problem, which is why experienced cold weather drivers do not start preparing when they park for the night. They start hours earlier, while the temperature is still manageable and the hands still respond properly to instructions from the brain. The preparation begins with the fuel. Diesel contains paraffin compounds, the same substance found in candles. In warm weather, they dissolve completely and cause no problems. As temperature drops, they begin to crystallize, thickening the fuel into a waxy gel that clogs filters and stops flowing to the engine entirely. Standard diesel thickens at around minus 5 degrees Celsius. Winter blend holds to minus 25. Arctic grade resists down to minus 50 and below. A driver who fills up with the wrong fuel blend on a remote Canadian highway is not running low on diesel. He has a full tank and a stopped engine and nowhere to go. Anti-gel additives go into the tank before temperatures drop, not after. Fuel lines are wrapped in insulating material. A driver who prepared in daylight does not think about paraffin at midnight. A driver who trusted to luck is on the shoulder with a flashlight, trying methods that experienced drivers know make the situation worse. The battery is the next layer. Cold destroys battery capacity faster than most people realize. At minus 40 degrees Celsius, a standard truck battery delivers less than 40% of its rated output. A truck running heating systems and cab electronics overnight needs double the standard battery setup just to make it through without a shutdown. Battery blankets and block heaters keep the engine block and batteries warm enough to function when they are needed. And then comes the piece of equipment that everything else is built around. The diesel parking heater, a compact self-contained combustion unit, no bigger than a shoebox, installed under the cab or inside the sleeper compartment. It draws a small amount of diesel directly from the main fuel tank, burns it in a sealed chamber, and pushes warm air through a dedicated vent system into the sleeping area. The fuel consumption is remarkably low. A Webasto or S-Bar unit running through a full cold night burns between 0.2 and 0.5 liters of diesel per hour. Compare that to 4 liters per hour for an idling main engine, and the efficiency is immediately obvious. It runs without the main engine. It runs quietly, and it maintains a livable temperature inside the sleeping area while the world outside is cold enough to be genuinely dangerous. But here is what most people miss. The parking heater is not a standalone solution. It works inside a prepared environment. Before shutting down the main engine for the night, experienced cold weather drivers run the cab heating system until the interior is genuinely hot. Not comfortable. Hot. The parking heater then maintains that temperature through the night, rather than trying to build it from scratch against minus 40 outside. Starting a parking heater in a cab that has already dropped to near freezing is far less efficient than maintaining a space that is already warm. That single habit, repeated every night, is the difference between a heater that runs comfortably for 8 hours and one that struggles to keep pace with the cold pressing in from every surface. The curtain between the cab and the sleeping area is the next detail. It sounds almost too simple to matter. It is not. By closing that curtain, the driver reduces the space the parking heater needs to warm from the entire cab, down to just the sleeping area. That smaller space heats faster, holds temperature more easily, and uses significantly less fuel to maintain through the night. It is the kind of detail that experienced drivers learn in their first winter and never stop using. Then, there is the bedding. An experienced cold weather driver does not sleep under a single blanket. A sleeping bag rated to -20 or -30 degrees Celsius is the primary sleep layer. Not emergency backup, the standard nightly setup. Thermal base layers, warm socks, sometimes a light hat. The body heat retained by proper bedding is the safety margin that converts a partial heater failure from a life-threatening emergency into an uncomfortable but manageable night. That margin is not accidental. It is calculated in advance, because at -40, there is no time to calculate anything after something goes wrong. Now, here is the danger that most people never see coming. The cold is not the most dangerous thing inside a parked truck cab at -40. The most dangerous thing has no color and no smell, and works faster than the temperature ever could. Carbon monoxide. A driver who idles the main engine all night for heat, particularly one parked near a snowbank that redirects exhaust back toward the cab, faces carbon monoxide buildup inside the sleeping area. It binds to hemoglobin in the blood 200 times more readily than oxygen. There is no feeling of suffocation, no alarm from the body. The driver becomes drowsy. Thinking slows. The ability to recognize what is happening diminishes along with consciousness. In a sealed cab at -40, a driver who falls asleep with a compromised exhaust situation does not wake up. This is why carbon monoxide detectors are essential equipment in serious cold weather operations. Not optional, not a precaution, essential. The detector is the only warning system that functions reliably. Carbon monoxide does not negotiate and does not announce itself. Without a detector, there is no warning until there is no driver. And there is one failure scenario that every experienced cold weather driver has thought through in advance. The heating system fails at 4 in the morning, the coldest hour. The temperature outside has been dropping for hours and is at its lowest point of the night. The parking heater stops. The cab begins to cool immediately. The instinct in this situation is wrong. The wrong response is to get out of the truck and try to fix the problem in the dark at -40. Hands freeze to metal within seconds. Energy burns through the body faster than it can be replaced. Every minute spent outside the cab accelerates the deterioration. A driver who spends 20 minutes trying to diagnose a heater failure in -40 air is not solving the problem. He is becoming the problem. The correct response is to stay inside. Get into the sleeping bag. Wrap in a thermal emergency blanket that reflects body heat back. And get on the radio. Because experienced drivers on remote cold weather routes do not travel alone. 2 vehicles on the same route, maintaining radio contact through the night. If one driver does not respond within the agreed window, the other turns back. No waiting, no assuming it was a radio issue. You turn back. Those minutes of silence on the radio are the entire difference between a rescue and a tragedy. So when you picture a truck driver parked on a frozen highway at -40, cab dark, engine quiet, this is what is actually running inside that space. A parking heater burning 0.3 liters of diesel per hour. A curtain sealing the sleeping area into a small, warm capsule. A sleeping bag rated for temperatures colder than the air outside. A carbon monoxide detector mounted where it can be heard from the bunk. A radio within arm's reach. And a second driver somewhere down the same road, close enough to turn back if the call does not come. Sleeping at -40 is not about surviving the cold. It is about removing the cold from the equation entirely, one prepared layer at a time, before the temperature ever becomes a threat. The drivers who do this well do not think of it as impressive. They think of it as Tuesday.